Did you pick up on Discord?
He did.
Okay, let me mute you here. All right. So I'm going to put her on through Discord. That's not how we normally would do this, but something happened about 30 minutes before I went to do this, and I had to re-sign into Streamlabs, and they just erased everything. So I was scrambling to get things put together, and I thought I had it worked out, but we've got an audio issue on the collab cam at the moment. So um, go ahead and say something. Let's see if we can hear.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's try this again. 20 minutes in.
Yeah, yeah, right. Can the audience hear me?
And let me know if I need to turn her up because she's not going through the filters like normal.
Yay, it seems like I can be heard.
Okay.
That's
Well, at least
amazing.
we'll make this work at this point, and then you and I can work out the problem with why this isn't working later. So anyway,
Yeah.
sorry about the off start. I'm going to blame Streamlabs because, like I said, I had to log in 30 minutes ahead of time, and it was asking me, "What do you want to do, and how do you want to start all this?" And like, really, this now? So anyway, Jitwire, why don't you tell us what we're talking about today so we can get this thing going?
Yeah, well, first, I wanted to say hello to everyone and thank you so much for joining us. I see we have a lot of people here. Faye, Pyro, Humble Tracker, Toasty Bits, TJ, and I believe Lucky was in here. And I know Aaron was in here as well, but he had to leave for a little bit. So thank you all so much. And also for, hanging out while we got that sorted. But today we're going to be talking about what makes the Long Dark so unique. And kind of had a question before we start diving into it. What makes the Long Dark unique for you? And also, what keeps you coming back to the game? Oh, and hello, Bacon. I can't forget Bacon. I never forget Bacon. But so, Kirk, let's go ahead and start the conversation off with you then. What is one thing about the Long Dark that you find really unique?
I'm
Like,
gonna start with the one thing that I think is the most unique part of the game, and mind you, there are thousands of games out there, and there could be some similarities, but the thing that I'm gonna pick on the most here is definitely the uniqueness of this being a survival game where you're reliant upon yourself. There's no
mhm.
zombies, there's no other people. It's you kinda gotta put on your bootstraps, and you have to go do it. You can't rely on somebody else to do it. You can't rely on somebody else to take care of something. You gotta take care of it, and then it's all about your will, your strive, your ability to take on the day.
Yeah. I can really agree with that. Definitely. And looking at chat here, so Faye is saying one thing it's obvious, but the community. And I would second and third and fourth and fifth that the community in the Long Dark is just it's something else entirely. It's one of the best gaming communities out there. And I don't think anyone could ever convince me otherwise. Everyone's just so wonderful.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that because it was the community that kind of pulled me back into the game early on,
Mhm.
because when I first started playing, one of the things that I ended up doing was I got frustrated and I kind of rage quit. And
Mhm.
it was actually my 2 boys, who said, "Dad, have you ever heard of Twitch, or have you ever looked this up on YouTube?" And that's where I found tutorials and things of that nature, and found other people playing that kind of went, "Oh, okay, so that's how you do this, or that's how this works," or, and then I would go back to the game and go, "Okay, I can now play this. I can understand this."
Mhm.
So it kind of leads into some of the stuff that you're doing right now with the tutorials. If I'd have had access to something like that, uh, it would have been golden.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I think that kinda once I think that leads well into, like, my first point of why I think it's so unique is that there's no tutorial. I don't think I've come across any other game that doesn't have a tutorial. Like, they'll at least give you hints or something, but the Long Dark, it's just like nothing. Here you go. You're in the wilderness. You don't know what anything is. You don't know where anything is. There's no quest to guide you. You're on your own. Here you go. So I think that's one of the things for me that definitely makes it very unique.
Especially if you don't play the story mode. Now that was one of the things that
Mhm.
I didn't play the story mode that long. The story is it's kind of hit or miss for me. I like the beginning part where Astrid and Will are conversing and they get in the plane, and Toasty Bits just mentioned it right now. It says that you actually are there at the point of the apocalypse when it starts. And
Mhm.
I agree with him on that aspect. It's like you're on the cutting edge of what's happening. And I like the part except to where, it leads up to where Will goes and talks to Grey Mother, and there seems to be this weird time issue and what have you. And so there's some of those things I didn't like and didn't get into. And I know that the survival part kind of relies on the story to show you how mechanisms work. It kind of talks about, doing fires and collecting things and all that stuff. But now that you can buy the game without the story mode, you can buy just survival. How many people get in there and it's foreign? There is no tutorial, there is no walkthrough. It's people like you that put all that in contact that if they don't find that stuff, they're probably very lost.
Mhm. Oh yeah, for sure. I know. I mean, just from like family members and friends trying it, like whenever my husband tried, he actually tried story mode, but like he couldn't figure out how to get out of the little area where the plane crashed in the beginning. Like he just didn't understand that, you can walk up trees and there's the climbing walls and even simple stuff like that. Um,
Yeah,
that can be confusing.
it took me a long time before I figured out, like goading. Like you
Mhm.
always in most games you must stay on the path, don't get off the path. And, so goading and going up places that, I just, you don't do that. That's not normal. And in this game, you pretty much can walk in any direction. There's very few places you can't go if you really try hard enough. I mean, Archimedes has got a crazy, what he's done, where he's gone and stuff. So yeah, it's one of those
Mhm.
things where it was like you're in this open sandbox, and for so many years you were led down the path, and you had to follow the breadcrumbs and do this and do that, and then you have this laid bare in front of you, and you're like, okay, what do I do? So that's what made it really unique. It was one of those things where I got frustrated and got killed by the wolves, didn't know how to deal with the wolves, rage quit. Took a couple weeks, kids suggested Twitch and that, and I watched, and I was like, "Okay, I need to go back and try to do better," and it brought me
Mhm.
back around, and then I started to see more and more about the community and the way the gameplay and everything. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. For sure. Well, definitely glad you checked it out and came back to it. So,
So for you though, you're saying what's the unique part about it for you
well, aside from like the no tutorial,
besides that?
um, so another thing is like there's no areas that are really blocked off to you. There's no like level cap. Like you don't need to wait until like you're level 10 to go forge something. You don't need to wait until you're level 15 to go to this area or to unlock this thing or do this thing. Yeah, there is the skills progression, but I do see that a lot in games as well. That Um, even like in Skyrim, you could go to like certain caves and stuff like that, but you're never going to be able to get through that cave because, you're level 2 and all the enemies in that cave are level 50 or whatever. So that's another really unique thing for me about the game is that you have complete freedom. You can go wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. Maybe you'll need to find like a key or something like that, but again, that key's not like it's not like you can't get it until you're at a certain point. So I think that's another really unique thing about it.
Yeah, that is true because I mean, realistically, you can go anywhere. You can do whatever. I mean, okay, you don't have a means to defend yourself, but you can always use avoidance. You can, not get picked up by the wolves or whatever, or you can use a torch to just fend yourself off or whatever. So there is a very unique part of that I agree with you that you can go forge day one if you've got the right tools, and you can go wherever. There's nothing locked off. There's no gates. There's no gatekeeper. And every run is unique in that you never know where you're going to get tossed for the most part unless you pick it. I'm a big fan of random, and it's like, okay, here you are, go.
Mhm. Agreed. Definitely. Yeah. And there I go with the definitely's again. But um yeah, I mean, it's really awesome in that regard. Just because, like I said, you don't get that much in other games. And I understand why other games do it that way. They want you to progress and they want you to learn the game better and they want to kind of like lock rewards behind things so they're harder to get. But I think The Long Dark is a really good example of a game that doesn't do that and it does it well.
It doesn't require grind,
Mm-hmm.
which is what usually happens in a lot of like the MMOs and stuff. It doesn't require you to grind it out. You can choose to grind like, okay, I don't want to have to carry tinder anymore, so I'm going to grind out fire starting, and you can do that, or you can shred meat and cook faster so you can get to cooking level 5. You can grind, but it's not a necessity to grind.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna pop over to chat because I seen something that
Yeah,
Toasty Bits
yeah.
said. And Toasty Bits wrote, and this is kind of getting away from me, but he said that the tutorial is something that he's hoping that Black Frost has, and he hopes it has a lot of help for people that don't grasp things easily. And I hope for that too. And I think personally, this is why Tails was introduced and the Trader was introduced on this game. I think we all know that Black Frost has been something they've had brewing for years now. And so I think introducing the Tails and introducing the Trader is to get the players a little more into sync with on the fly learning and that. So the tails represent a sort of breadcrumb thing that you have to interact with and learn how to do that part of it. So they're introducing that as a concept. A lot of the games that you play that are kind of RPG will do the breadcrumb things, or the story will be interwoven with the gameplay. So I'm having a feeling that's what they did that for, is to kind of like put this out there, see how it reacts, tweak it, and then as they get Black Frost a little further along, they'll be able to polish that particular thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would really be great for Black Frost to have a tutorial. And that actually kind of leads me to a question to kind of prove the point of this as well. Work. After you got frustrated with the game, and if you couldn't have gone on to Twitch or YouTube and watched someone else to learn how to play, do you think you would have came back?
I would have to say I would have came back. I don't know how long I would have stayed. It would have depended upon how well I picked up on the game. Sometimes, I mean, I'm going to say this with as much peace and love as I can say. I'm an average game player. I'm not on the elite end or by any stretch of the means. So sometimes even simple concepts can get past me that I get mad at myself for not like, oh, I should have seen that. But
Mhm.
how many times anybody has left a bedroll behind or a pot behind or whatever. We're
Yeah.
better than that, but we still do it. So yeah, it
Mhm.
would have really depended upon how well I picked up. I think the wolves were very frustrating. Maybe if I had found the customization sooner and I could have played maybe without the wolves, maybe if I had taken my ego off my shoulder and played Pilgrim more, I don't know. It'd be hard to walk back that, but yeah, it would be really dependent upon what I would have done. Because I mean, my first mistake was going in on Voyager and thinking that I don't need Pilgrim. I can do this.
Mhm.
So I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, so I know the game this topic is supposed to be about what makes the game unique and what keeps people coming back. And I personally like that there's no tutorial because I like to go and figure things out. But I wonder if that frustration of not being able to figure things out and not having help is kind of what I don't want to say it's almost like gatekeeping, but if it kind of deters people from returning to the game because they just get frustrated and they're like, oh, I'm not going to play anymore. Or they take a really long break and then maybe they come back and see if they can figure it out again. So just kind of
I
curious about that.
I could see that for myself. I mean, I know there's a lot of games where I will play them and then I get frustrated and I'll set it aside. I would even say this with what you're doing now and what I did not too long ago with regards to Subnautica. Subnautica was one of those things where you could get yourself into trouble by not following the path in the right way sometimes and what have you. And so I would get frustrated with that game and then I think
Mhm.
about it and work through and like, okay, what if I do this? And then you go back and you try and like, oh, okay, that's how I fix this. So I think it's just a determination, but some people's attention spans for being determined. Like I was determined that I wasn't going to let the game beat me, so I kept going back to it. It was finding Zach and others that said, "Oh, do this with the torch, and you won't have to worry about the wolves, and do this and this." I'm like, "Oh," and it kind of woke me up to the okay, I need to be more experimental. I need to be more diligent. I need to do, a little more thinking. This isn't just a follow the breadcrumbs. I need to be more interactive with this game. I need to be more present. And,
Mhm.
because some games are very casual and some games are
Yeah.
very, thinking, some are strategy. This one has a little bit of all of that mixed in. You've got to be present, you've got to have some strategy, you've got to have a, an idea of what you want to accomplish. So that was the thing that kept making me come back. It probably would have slowed me down. I don't know if I would have quit.
Mhm. Hmm. Yeah, I think chat kind of got away from us here, but I thought I saw a comment from Bacon that kind of goes with this. And I also want to say hello, John, and hello, SF. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Quit it for years. And then I tried it again and found the community, which totally made the game fun for me. And thank you all. If that's the one you're talking about.
Yep, that was it.
And I
Yep, I
agree.
saw it pop
It's
up. Oh,
the community is part of the reason what kept making me want to come back. Getting involved with Zach's experiment and getting to meet all the people that were involved in that and kind of hanging out in Twitch streams and all that stuff. That it kind of became a thing that took on its own little life.
mhm. Agreed. Agreed. I mean, it's kind of different for me though because there was no community when I first started playing. You're kind of on your own. It wasn't until after I came back from my really long break that wow, there was like this huge community now, and it was so great, and there was all these people. So I learned a lot even coming back as well. So community definitely helps, but I do like that aspect of the game too because um I think part of there not being a tutorial is also what builds such a strong community because you have to kind of lean on each other and other people in the community to learn the game, and then you make friends and you get to know people. So I think I can see it both ways. Like, I can see where a tutorial would do a lot of good, and then I also see where not having a tutorial does a lot of good as well. So, because it kind of, like I said, it naturally builds that community.
All right, let me answer. Faye just said something about the sound cutting in and out. I just got a little bit of an error from YouTube Studios saying something about a connection, so we may have just had a little bit of a hiccup in the internet, but it's gotten back to excellent connection. So it could be just a connection problem from me or something along the lines of the internet, but it should hopefully be better now. And then Toasty Bits has got lots to say. We got to get Toasty Bits on with us.
Yeah.
He needs to
You
come
need to come
join
on
this.
at some
He
point.
needs to come join the circle and be part of the conversation. He's saying
Yeah.
one of his favorite games that tells you to stick to the roads is Fallout. New Vegas. What happens when you don't stick to the roads? You find the coolest stuff in the game. Yeah, Fallout 3 was one of those ones where I did the same thing. It's like you follow all the roads and then you're like, wait a minute, what's over here? And then you go in that direction and oh look, I found a whole bunker that a vault that I didn't even know existed or anything. So it's just bizarre to that whole thing is how you learn how to get off the road, go explore and all that stuff. But all the Fallout series that I've played, Fallout 3, 4, Vegas, they were all kind of like that. That's one of those things I enjoyed about doing those, and that's why I'm kind of thinking that uh, Black Frost is going to kind of be in that deal. They're going to have those little stories that you follow.
Hmm. Yeah, so it seems like the sound is still cutting in and out, and I do apologize for that. Um, Toasty is saying it might be behind on the stream, and the audio is fine now. So,
Yeah, like I said, I did get an error warning from the studio, so give it a second to clear up. But it's showing that it's back to normal. So
yep. So, Kirk, I know before we talked, you had some more interesting points on what makes the Long Dark so unique. So, what is your next reason or thing why you think the Long Dark is unique?
I think that the environment is
Mhm.
something that's unique. It's one of the few games that the day night cycle, the weather, not just blizzards. I mean, blizzards are amazing, in stopping you, but fog is very well used for that. Snowstorms, the cold, all of that becomes another predator in a weird way. And then, and I'm going to pick on you, Bacon. I'm sorry, but I remember him making a post about he didn't go out at night. So the day night cycle plays a big factor. Some players are okay with going out at night, some players are not.
Mhm.
The Aurora changes that aspect of going out at night. The fact that you have to go out at night to do the tails with the Aurora makes that, the risk reward factor in that. So I think the environment, the way you can kind of stand there and watch the sun cross the sky and it changes how the day goes and everything. And it that part I find so unique that you have that. I know there's other games that kind of have day night cycles and there's a little bit of weather, but it doesn't impede you the same way in what I have experienced with other games. Again, I haven't played everything, but from what I have played to this, it's definitely one of the things that shines brightly as being a a big hindrance to the game. It's like you plan your day based on walking out the door and going, "Oh, it's blizzarding today. I guess we're gonna cook, or I am gonna fix my clothes." Your plans for the day are done.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I almost want to say like the weather is almost like your ultimate adversary in the game as well. Because, like you said, whatever you're doing is dependent on, is it day or nighttime? Is there an aurora out? Is there a blizzard right now? Is the weather clear? How's the wind doing? So that's definitely a really big part of it. And I thought that's really cool that the weather is almost like a character. The environment is almost like a character, and it's your ultimate adversary. I know there's animals and things like that as well, but um, the weather just it controls everything in the game.
It does, and it's in an adversary that you have a tough time. It's probably your most difficult adversary to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it you
Well, yeah.
can't. You can't beat the adversary. You cannot beat a blizzard. You have to hunker down. You can suffer through it in that, but
Yeah.
you can defeat a bear, you can defeat a wolf, you can get around wildlife, whatever, but for the most part the weather is the one thing you can't defeat to one extent.
Mm-hmm.
You can trudge through it, whatever, but you can't negate it. You can't make it go away for 3 days like a wolf or a
Yeah.
bear. You know, you kill the bear, it's not going to be back for so many days. You kill a wolf, it's going to be gone for a week, and you don't have to deal with it. The weather's going to be there tomorrow or an
Yep.
hour.
Or two. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's jump into chat here. We got lots of good stuff going on here.
Yeah, we
So,
do.
um, Faye was saying says that I notice most content creators refer to their characters as we, as if you are in it together, and I think that way too. And yeah, I don't know why I do that. I'm guilty of that, but I think the
Mm-hmm.
we also means the audience. We're in this together. You're here enjoying this. You're part of it, although you're not making the decisions. And I know that sometimes decisions made by the content creators don't always agree with how we're playing, but you know, I may watch
Mm-hmm.
and go, "Why are you doing that?" or whatever. But that's also part of the fun in watching other people play and that. And so I think that's part of where we get that, is that it's not just about us; it's about we enjoying this moment together.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree with that. Yeah, I know I tend to say we as well whenever I'm recording because I mean, I don't think of it as just as my run. I think of it as our run, it's ours together. So,
It's a shared experience.
hmm, absolutely. Yep. And Lucky is saying fading into the long dark is what kept me coming back. And I think that's an excellent point. Um, just because most games, you die and you respawn. Maybe you lose some of your loot, but then, like, even Subnautica, like, you lose some of the stuff you're carrying and you respawn back at your life pod. Or, Minecraft, you lose your stuff and you respawn at your last respawn location. And the Long Dark is very different in that aspect. Maybe not so much now that they've introduced cheat death, but definitely before, whenever it was just permadeath, because it's like it's all or nothing, and that makes the stakes much higher. Um, so I think you get more invested in it because it's finite. It's eventually going to end.
And when it ends, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
You get
Yep.
frustrated. You get that. "Arr!" You know, why did I do this? Why did I step on this? Why did I try to goat this? Why did I try to walk over and attack the bear from this angle? And especially if you've got time spent on it, you know, you're into 85, 100 days, and you're like, what did I do? What did I do? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's frustrating from that standpoint.
Yep. And Slipped Gear was saying hello. Hello, Slipped
Hello?
Gear. Nice to have you here. The community challenges and the custom game settings make the Long Dark endlessly replayable. And yeah, that's another thing too. There's so few games out there. Like, I mean, they have creative mode essentially, but there isn't a whole lot of games that allow you to go in and tweak it. Like, you can turn off wolves, you can turn off the moose, You can turn off Timberwolves. You can say, I want guns. I don't want guns. You can turn off healing. You could make healing really low. You could make the weather absolutely crazy. You could make the weather very mild. So, um, yeah, absolutely. Endlessly replayable because you can adjust it and you can make the game whatever you want it to be. And I don't see a lot of developers really handing their players that kind of freedom to kind of manipulate the game like that.
And they're promising us even more control, which is going to be
I
really
know.
unique. So we're really looking forward to that. And this is something I know we try not to talk about it, but I know Jetwire and I are both on this boat of we do a lot of custom runs. Even her and I behind the scenes have been developing little custom runs that we plan to do and what have you, not just Dead
Mhm.
World, but a lot of the fun parts about the custom runs are to force things to be difficult in different ways. Um,
Mhm.
Dead World, I know we talk about that quite a bit, but that's the one thing that we're kind of both running a lot of, but that makes the weather your biggest adversary, the lack of food. Nogoa is like super hard, interloper where you don't have any healing, kind of like As the Dead Sleep. And there's so many different ways where you can tweak something just a little bit, just to make it a little bit different, a little bit more easier, a little more hard, just, and can endlessly put in your twist. I wouldn't blame anybody that like, okay, you're playing Voyager and Stalker and you want to try Interloper, but you're a little bit too I don't know if I want to deal with Timberwolves with a bow. Okay, we'll turn them off. Get comfortable with the rest
Mhm.
of the game and then introduce them when you feel more comfortable. Or turn
Yep.
off all the wolves and go play interloper and get familiar with how the loot goes and how to move about and how to get gear built and all that stuff. Then reintroduce them. That's the beauty of it. You can walk that up, and I think that's the thing that if we go back to what I originally said, that when I first learned how to play, if I'd have spent a little more time figuring out that, oh, I could have tweaked this, oh, I could have done XYZ and learned how to do it better. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep, definitely love the custom settings for that. And I mean, even if you don't want to like reintroduce things, that's perfectly fine too. I mean, maybe you find some way that you like the game better. Maybe you don't like the Timberwolves. Maybe you find them buggy. I know a lot of people have issues with that, so you can still play, with them off. So,
This would even harken back to last week's conversation where we've gotten to the point with after experiencing both cougars that I don't know that I'm going to reintroduce the cougar in any new runs that I'm going to do like a
mhm.
standard run. I don't know that I'm that interested in it that at this point. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's tweaking the game at that point. Even though it's not quite a custom game, but it does give you that ability. You can turn the trader on, you can turn on that. So it'll be interesting to see the new deals on that. I'm gonna jump over and mention again, and Toasty Bits again. We're gonna give you an invite to come chit chat with us because you've got great opinions on a lot of this stuff. And
Mhm.
by all the way, if you don't know who Toasty Bits is, and that he does some very very good videos on the story mode and the lore and
Yep.
he's got a lot of good content. So if you have not seen any of his stuff, you got to go over there and go check him out. He's got really good
Def-
content and that. And if you want to
yep.
put a thing up on the chat, if it doesn't work, then we'll fix it and we'll make it work. But he said what he's saying here is that another great thing about the game is that you can rage quit and from just about anything and simply as fishing or burbot fish and say it's personal experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just all depends on. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And cool. We'll get with you on Discord about joining us. By all means, we'd love it.
Mhm.
The whole thing about this is to have kind of like a round table discussion and that. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'd love to have you on. It was great to have Zach on last week. That was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Agreed. Yeah, it would be great. Absolutely. Look
And then
forward to that.
Pyro's got I got a quote from the game that hit me like a truck. Just because you are alone doesn't mean that you have to be lonely. I'm not sure I know that
Yeah.
quote, but I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and like he's saying, the community is always there, which is true. I mean, so
Yeah.
even if you're wandering through the Canadian wilderness and you're all alone, doesn't mean you necessarily feel lonely over it. Um, I have that experience too. Like even in my own personal games, even whenever I'm not, playing on stream, I don't necessarily feel like I'm lonely in the game. And it's always nice too, like even after the run ends or something happens or I can go and talk to someone else about it in the community and, they all kind of get it.
I think it's shared experiencing. I think maybe that's what makes the community kind of gather together because it's you're sharing that triumph, that tragedy, I can't believe I did this, and so many people that play are generally, for the most part that I've watched, are not afraid to show when they make a mistake. And I
Hmm.
applaud that. I mean, it's what I do as myself. It's like if I screw up, I'm gonna own it, you know? And that's part of, the joy of watching you, watching, watching everybody. Anybody and everybody they watch. I like that they show their scars, they show their mistakes.
Yep. I won't spoil too much, but I have a big mistake coming. So, up, get to see that full and uncut. But
Raw raw
going back, yeah, run. Oh gosh, what did I
next
just
on
do?
Raw
And
and
walk.
Uncut.
Yeah. But Silent Shade was saying unique thing, in my opinion, the scarcity of food sources and the risks involved in hunting with no normal farming mechanic is pretty unique for a survival game. Even Subnautica has a tank where you can farm the best fish. Yes. Yeah, I mean, because it's always a risk whenever you're going to hunt anything. Um, Even like a deer, because you could have a wolf or a bear or something creep up on you while you're harvesting it. So even something as simple as that can definitely have some risk involved. And I agree with the farming. I mean, I think the only thing right now you can really like farm are probably like coal and maybe the salt and stuff like that. But it's definitely not like other games where you're going to run out and collect 50 stone to do this thing with and have this massive stockpile sitting there constantly. I mean, I know people do that with meat and stuff. They leave it outside of their base for forever, but um
Yeah, I was gonna say the
I
Subnautica one is a good example because I know, like, when I'm playing,
mm,
I usually my favorite one to use in that is the lantern fruit, and when I play it, I tend to build little moon pools everywhere because you're always moving around with the sea moth or your, prawn suit. So I build little moon pools everywhere and then give them power somehow, usually thermal, and then I will put a couple of lantern fruits in the corner all the time, and because they give you a little bit of hydration and they give you food, and you can pretty much run around anywhere you want to go, and you've always got it. So, yeah, the long dark you don't have the ability to harvest as much over time. I mean, I think birch bark is one of the few ones that will respawn over time. But once you've pulled all the teas and the mushrooms, those are a one-time thing.
yeah.
Without the trader, there's a certain finite to that.
Yep. We might have to do a a podcast about things that make us rage because Faye's saying like the wind in my face makes me rage and oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I wish the what is it, the Blizzard Walker badge. I wish it did more because I would use that all the time. I would use it constantly. Like every single run I need this, but the wind is awful.
The wind
Walking
is
into
not
it.
your friend when you're carrying 100 pounds of stuff. and you're already
That's
walking
always me.
slow, and then the wind blows in your face, and then you're a snail's pace.
Yeah, you're like crawling. Might as well be on like yeah. Uh, Camden, thank you so much for joining us, Camden. So, having a community like the Long Dark adds an extra level of real life meaning to your runs and in game experiences. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it's kind of like sharing those stories and, what to do and what not to do and sharing tips and advice and
You get around the
all that.
campfire and go, "You're not going to believe what happened to me today."
Yep. And speaking of which, this might be a good time to announce it. I gotta go look at the date real quick. Unless you know it off the top of your head, Kirk.
The date for
Or the Q&A.
the Q&A, March 2nd,
Yeah, so March 2nd,
Sunday.
so our Sunday shows, yeah, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing like a Q&A. So we're not going to pick like a topic, but the point of this is for you guys to come in and ask questions. If you want opinions on something, if you need help with a run, or if you just want to tell us about your run. That's a place where you can come in on Sundays and, just share.
Yeah, because we've got my awful schedule that takes one Saturday out of my existence, and we have to do the show on Sundays. We thought that would be a good time to do more of a community interactive type deal. So it'll be at the same time, uh,
hmm
but we're going to do one where it's more about what you guys want to talk about. So it could go all over the place, but we'll definitely try that out, see how it goes.
Personally looking forward to it. I mean, because, we're kind of out there because we're sharing our runs with you because obviously, we're recording videos of them, but would really be interested to hear about some of your runs. What are some crazy things that have happened to you or some cool things or, good, bad, ugly, anything.
And Toasty Bits, once again, yeah. After 10 years, the game is still full of surprises. I
Mm-hmm.
can't say enough about that. Although I haven't been playing that long, I know that during the little part where Jitwire and I were experiencing Cougar 1.0 to do last week's show, there was a part of Mystery Lake I'd never gone to before, and I was like,
Oh, really?
I had no idea this existed. I didn't even know it was there. And how many times I'd walked past it and whatever. So yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I thought I knew Mystery Lake pretty good. I thought I knew most places. I was actually getting to the point where I was like, okay, I can go from where the preppers cache is, and I can work away the back way and go, right down to the train tracks and go right out to the muskeg. And I was like, oh, this place is really starting to come together. And then I did the 1.0 things, and I walked over in this one little corner because it's where the cat was, and it's like, how long has this been here? So yeah,
Are
I
you
totally
talking
get
about
that.
the one? Are you talking about the one little place by Clear Cut where there's like that snow shelter up the little hill?
Yeah, I'd never been there before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was tripping out on that. I was like, oh my God, this is so. I may have to go up there on my Dead Roar run because there was food there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great little area, and it's definitely hard to find. It's kind of
Yeah.
like out in the like, yeah, and you can't really see it while you're walking by it. You actually have to go up there. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
one
it
of
seems like
those
Toasty
off.
Bits just found it too. So
Yeah. It's just one of those things you stumble upon. And you're like, what? What? Where did this come from?
yeah, how long has this been here?
Yeah. So those are all fun. Those are fun to talk about, little surprises and things.
hmm So we've been focusing on what's unique, and we are coming up on time. But what's the biggest thing that keeps you coming back to the game?
Are you talking to me?
hmm
Or are you talking to
You
chat?
or
Okay.
chat
Okay.
or
No, I
anyone.
just want to make sure. I don't want to answer if you're expecting an answer from elsewhere, because we all say we about everything.
Yep.
I'd say right now, my biggest thing about coming back to the game now more than anything is the content creation has kind of taken on a life of its own. I really kind of started to enjoy that. Um, I got really hooked on it when I started Twitch several years ago and then had to quit and then had a really kind of a light bulb moment, and I gotta give credit where credit's due. It was from Zach because Zach had started a family and he wasn't able to do his live streams, which I watched quite a bit of. But he said he was going to focus on doing YouTube, and YouTube for me was just a place to dump the streams at the time, and he made the comment in part of the Discord forum that the content creators have access to on his channel about how the videos gave him a little more control. You could record in smaller chunks and it was more forgiving because the stream is tough. You've got to dedicate time, especially on Twitch. You got to give up, usually 2 to 3 hours, and you got to do it 2 or 3 days a week to get any kind of following
Mhm.
and payback for that. So it's a lot of time. So when I started doing the recordings and you start getting feedback and people are enjoying it and all that stuff, and that's I think that part feeds the comeback to play because there's always times when you're like, I need to play something else, I need to do something else, whatever. But then it's like, oh, I need to record something, and then I start recording, and I get 5 minutes into the recording, and I'm like, I'm having a good time again. I'm enjoying this. Let's go.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. I think for me, I just like to be in the world. I think Hinterland gave us a really nice place to just go and be and hang out and explore and do whatever we want to. So yeah, I just like to be in the world. So that's why I keep coming back and now getting into content creation. That does definitely have a part in it too, but um it's mainly that. It's mainly that I do like to be in the world and I like to explore and
Well,
make my mistakes and learn to
the
get better and all
the
that.
the world is also so big. I know we've been talking about Subnautica, but it's one of the things that's kind of in the forefront right at the moment. But um,
Mhm.
the thing that's kind of you kind of get to an end with Subnautica is that the map is it's not small, but it's not very large you know um, like the Long Dark. So it'd be interesting, you've got those portal things in Subnautica. If you couldn't use those to portal to another part of the world, if the whole world's an ocean. But
Mhm.
that would have created that aspect in that game. But it's not because it is what it is. I love the game. Don't want to change it. But you're right that having the world to be in, because and each region is different. It's like, oh, you know what?
Yep.
I'm gonna go here. Hush River Valley doesn't look anything like Forling Muskeg, and you know, uh, Sundered Pass doesn't look anything like Mountain Town. They're both up in the hills, but they look totally different. So yeah, everywhere you go is a little different. Sometimes you can even be kind of taken away and lose track of time just with the actual beauty of the game. So yeah, that's a really good point
Mhm.
as far as what can bring you back or what's unique about it.
Yeah, and I could do anything I want to do as well. Like I could say, "Oh, I'm gonna go do Summit today," or I can be like, I'm in Blackrock and I'm gonna go to the far territories today. Instead of going to Pleasant Valley or, going region by region, I can go do whatever I want. I can go hunt some moose. I can go fishing. I could go forage, even if I don't need to. I could still do it if I wanted to. So,
And that's probably
yeah.
one other, and I'll leave this as my closing unique thing because it ties into exactly what you said. To be able to go from one part of the world to the other, and that is you have to walk it. There is no
Mhm.
fast travel. A lot of games have fast travel. You go to this and it transports you. I mean, and the Long Dark could have done that. They could have every loading screen could have taken you and you could have at that loading screen you could have said pick the map you want to go to and then you end up at that map. No.
Mhm.
You've got to earn you've got to earn your way because you've got to deal with the wind, the snowstorms, the adversaries and everything. So you've got to earn that privilege to go from one side of the map to the other. So, they call it a
Mhm.
walking simulator jokingly, but yeah, there's a point behind it because you got to earn getting from point A to point B.
That's a really great point, and I hadn't ever really thought of that before. But no, that's it's definitely true. You do have to earn. So yeah, you could do it, but you got to work for it. So, yep.
So, any parting thoughts?
Um, I mean, just that it's different. It's different in so many ways, in so many good ways. And I will definitely keep coming back to this game always. Just because of that, because it's so unique and there's so many
Every
things
new,
about it that are
every,
different.
every new run is a new run. I mean, everybody
Yep.
jokingly talks about new run hype, and there's such a trueness to that because every new run is new. It's different. You can
Yeah.
literally spawn in a lot of different places, different weather, different conditions, and nothing is given to you. It's everything is earned. So yeah, there's definitely the
Yeah.
uniqueness of that. It's everything is earned. So
Yep. Well, yeah, because even if you spawn in a region you've been in before, on a loot table you've had before, maybe that starting region is a little bit the same, but then everything after, because it's all up to you. It's all up to your choices. Where do you go after that? What do you do after that?
well, you could even replicate the spawn. Let's say you spawn
Hmm.
in that location 3 times, and the first time it's a clear day, the second time it's foggy, the next time it's a blizzard, and each one of those runs
Hmm.
takes on a different meaning,
Yep.
different importances. So that's probably the most unique part about it is the repel. It's definitely got a huge replayability to it, and
Yeah.
that there are some things you kind of have to do, and it's kind of repetitive in some ways, but every new run is a different run. So
Yep. Agreed.
So anyway, I think we'll close out here as we come up on
Yeah.
just a little over an hour. Do apologize for the issues early on. Like I said, Streamlabs kind of dumped I don't know if it was an update or something. They threw something at me that I wasn't expecting, but we'll definitely get the audio issues sorted out. At least we know we can
Yeah.
fall back to what we did today as a fallback. Um, Next week, what's our topic next week? Preview.
Uh, Permadeath versus cheat death.
So, and if you noticed on the channel, we actually pre-posted like the next three. We posted today's and next week's,
Hmm.
and then the Q&A. So they're all up and ready to go.
Yep.
And so you guys can hit the little reminder and what have you. And all that. So thank you everybody. A real quick shout out, and I'm going to put up my little thing here. But if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and get on. I don't. You know what? That's broken too. See, I got to fix everything.
Oh no.
I have my subscribe cat that was supposed to come up and ask everybody to subscribe. So please, everybody subscribe. Everybody follow on Twitch if you prefer Twitch. Monday the show will go out on Spotify, correct?
Correct.
So we upload this onto Spotify. And thank you, everybody, for your patience and our difficulties as we keep continuing to try to make this better every week. As you can see, we got the chat fixed on the screen, the one shining beacon of light in this whole thing.
Yep.
But we'll get our
Yep.
we'll get our audio sorted out and get that all going. Toasty Bits, we'll be talking to you. Hopefully, we'll get you on soon. I would love to have you on. Um, we can talk about anything you want to talk about. So you can even suggest the subject to be a guest
Yep.
with that. So, Chitwire, I'm going to let you close out the show because you were muted for most of the beginning.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, and also for hanging out during the technical difficulties. I hope everyone still had a great time and had fun talking about this game that we all love. But with that, thank you so very much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you next time. Bye bye.